Today we will be talking about finances, which is our first video of our 6-video series. And I need you to stick around until the end because I will also be talking about upfront costs, which is a very common question that home buyers have. How much does it really cost to be able to purchase a home, right? So stick around till the end, and actually let's just jump right into it.
Okay, so here you can see the two different type of traditional ways of purchasing a home. So you could get it financed through a bank. So what the bank is going to do is you are going to reach out to a loan officer. And what the loan officer is going to request is the several documentation. So the loan officer is going to request like your past 2 years tax returns, bank statements, stuff like that. And then they're going to actually provide you with an amount that they would be willing to lend you. This step is very important because you don't want to do a bunch of home shopping and then realize that you don't qualify for the home. You want to make sure that you already know how much the bank is willing to lend you before you start shopping, because that's very important. Now, if you don't have a particular lender that you are comfortable with, I have a list of lenders that I could provide you with. So I could give you that list. You could shop around with them, see who's providing you with a better rate. Now, we do have cash option. Now, the cash option is very easy. What you would do is you go to the bank and request a proof of funds letter, and that letter, we're going to be submitting it with your offer. So it could be a cash offer or it could be a bank finance. Either way, we want to make sure that we provide proof of funds in both situations. That way, our offer could be a strong offer. Now, let's talk about upfront costs, okay? Here you can see the different types of upfront costs. Now, the column on the left is going to be all the numbers that are pretty much set. The columns on the right is going to be me breaking down using an example of the home sale price of $300,000. Okay, so let's look at option money. That's $100. Now, option money is going to be money that you would be placing that allows you to opt out of the contract if for some reason you decide not to move forward. So this is 10 days when you are allowed to enter the home, do an inspection on the home, do our due diligence to making sure that this is something that you want to move forward with. Now, the option money is the only money that you could potentially lose if for some reason you decide to opt out of the contract. This money is something that we're going to give to the seller if we decide to walk away, and for allowing us to actually remove it from the market. Now, if for some reason we decide to move forward after those 10 days, that money is going to be credited at the end to our closing costs. And we want to make sure that we structure the contract in that way. Now, let's look at earnest money. Earnest money is going to be typically 1% of the actual sale of the home. So, for example, this $300,000 home, it would be $3,000. Now, if you are in a situation where it's multiple offers, what I highly recommend is to actually increase this amount. So you could even do up to 5%, depending on what you're comfortable with. And this is something that's actually going to be also credited at the end towards your closing costs. So you are not losing this. Now, as a realtor, my job is to ensure that this money is secure at all times. So if for some reason during those 3 days or 10 days of that option period, we decide to opt out of the contract, that money will come back to us. But the option money and the earnest money must be submitted within the first 3 days after executing the contract. So this is very important that you understand. Now let's move on to our home inspection. During those 10 days, we're going to have the option of actually hiring an inspector to inspect the home. And what they're going to do is they're going to inspect the home, make sure that it's something that we're comfortable. We are making a very large investment, right? So we want to make sure that we're actually, paying our inspectors to look at everything, making sure that everything's correct. And from there, the inspection depends on the fee of the size of the home, the age of the home, square footage, and all that. So they normally range between $350. Now the appraisal That is something that has to be completed because we are using a lender. So the lender is going to hire an appraiser that is going to go out and actually appraise the home. The lender is not going to lend on a home that they feel is not worth that value. So they want to make sure that you're not overpaying for the property. Okay, and this tends to be about $500. Now, the closing cost is going to be about 3 to 5% of what the sale of the home is. This has to do with title fees, attorney fees, all those different fees that actually accumulate. And it just depends on how much you would be putting. Now, as being your realtor, this is something that I am going to try to negotiate. When we are submitting our offer, we're going to try to allow the seller to help us with this fee. So depending on how the offer is structured, this amount could be different. Okay. Now this brings us to a total about, like you see here, $10,000 to $16,000. This is not including down payment. Now, a lot of people do use down payment assistance programs, but if you decide to actually not use the down payment assistance programs, which is perfectly fine, you are looking at maybe about 3%. Now, if you're going with an FHA loan, which is one of the most traditional, that is about 3.5% of what the sales price is. If you're going with a conventional loan, it's going to be about 3 to 5% a down payment. Now, if you're using a VA loan, that is going to be typically 0% down. So those are the three most common and type of loans that you would be able to obtain with a lender. And obviously contacting the lender and really knowing what fits best for you is something that I highly recommend. Now, if you have any questions on any of these numbers, or if there's a particular home that you are interested in, definitely let me know and I could be able to break these down more in detail. All right, so look forward to seeing you on my next video. Well, stay tuned. Bye-bye.